A civil trial is rarely decided in front of a judge. By opening statements, the verdict is usually sealed in the shadows of pretrial discovery. We are examining two specific mechanisms that dictate this compelled disclosure: Rule 27, covering the production of documents, and Rule 28, covering physical and mental examinations. These rules force an adversary to hand over the exact evidence required to destroy their own case, but they operate on a razor's edge. A single procedural misstep during this phase permanently waives a client's most protected privileges. The litigator who controls this disclosure controls the evidence. The litigator who controls the evidence dictates the entire trajectory of the trial. Look at this vintage accounting ledger. If the hidden entries prove a breach of contract, Rule 27 provides the mechanism to compel production, eliminating a trial in the dark. Invoking this requires precise parameters, the mine-up framework. You must file a motion with good cause for items not privileged in the adversary's possession containing material evidence. It applies to a party only, specifying particulars. The condition that documents must not be privileged creates a critical boundary. You cannot use Rule 27 to compel a hospital to produce an opposing party's drug rehabilitation records. The physician-patient privilege shields those documents, and Rule 27 cannot pierce it. Do not confuse this with a subpoena ducis tecum. Rule 27 is directed exclusively at a party to the action and requires a formal motion with good cause. A subpoena targets a non-party and can generally be issued upon an ex parte application. Because it requires a specific motion, targets only parties, and strictly excludes privileged documents, Rule 27 operates as a precision surgical tool. It is not a license for a broad fishing expedition. This chest X-ray represents compelled physiological evidence. Under Rule 28, the court has equitable discretion to order a physical or mental examination by a physician. Courts apply the strict PICP requisite. The physical condition must be in controversy, examined by a physician. The condition must be the core subject of the dispute, not just an incidental fact. This power inevitably collides with constitutional defenses. Compelled medical testing under Rule 28 is classified as a valid non-testimonial compulsion. You cannot be forced to testify against yourself, but your physical body can be examined if its condition is the central controversy. However, this power is restricted. Rule 28 is an exclusive weapon against active parties to the litigation. A court cannot order the physical or mental examination of a mere witness or an employee. Their bodily privacy remains absolute. Because it invades bodily autonomy, a medical examination is never granted as a matter of right. It requires aggressive due process protections. A valid order relies on the MGNS framework. There must be a motion showing good cause, followed by notice to all parties. Crucially, the order must specify the time, place, manner, conditions, scope of the examination, and the exact physician. Filing an ex parte motion for a medical examination is a fatal procedural defect. The adverse party must be given the opportunity to contest the scope and necessity of the intrusion before the order is signed. If a party defies a valid examination order, the court cannot order their arrest. Instead, the court imposes procedural execution. It can render a default judgment or issue an order establishing the medical condition exactly as the requesting party claims it to be. Therefore, an examination order that lacks strict notice or fails to define specific physical parameters is procedurally void. It is instantly challengeable. Rule 28, Section 3 enforces the rule of mutuality of discovery. Information exchange must be perfectly symmetrical. This creates the RMR mechanic. Request means reciprocation. If the examined party demands a copy of the court-ordered medical report, that single request instantly obligates them to surrender their own private medical reports regarding that exact same condition. Occasionally, an examining physician will stubbornly refuse to write or submit the required report. The remedy here is highly specific. The court cannot hold the doctor in contempt, nor can it order their arrest. The rules simply dictate that if the physician refuses to make the report, the court will exclude their testimony if offered at trial. This forces a calculated tactical choice. A litigator must weigh acquiring the opponent's medical findings against exposing their client's private medical history. The simple request itself arms the adversary. Under Section 4, we find the ultimate procedural trap in discovery. the automatic statutory forfeiture of the physician-patient privilege. This operates on the warp requisite, waiver activated by requesting a privileged report. By intentionally requesting the report or deposing the examiner, the party destroys the privilege for all prior and future medical professionals who have examined them for that same condition. The physical exam itself does not waive the privilege. The statutory forfeiture is triggered strictly by the act of requesting the resulting report. If the party never asks for it, the shield remains intact. This is a classic litigation trap. Defense counsel will often attempt to subpoena the plaintiff's personal doctor to testify. But if the plaintiff never requested the Rule 28 examination report, the physician-patient privilege holds. The defense counsel's subpoena aisles. The logic of the rule is simple and unforgiving. A party cannot weaponize the privilege as a sword to extract discovery from their opponent, while simultaneously using it as a shield to hide their own unfavorable medical evidence. The vintage ledger reminds us that Rule 27 is the ultimate hunt for the hidden paper trail, forcing the disclosure of critical, unprivileged documents. The X-ray reminds us that Rule 28 is the hunt for physiological truth, scientifically verifying claims that rely on physical or mental conditions. Both rules operate under absolute, shared constraints. They target only active parties to the action. They require a strict showing of good cause, and they operate on the volatile edge of privilege waiver. True mastery of civil litigation does not happen during closing arguments. It happens here. By weaponizing these discovery rules with absolute procedural precision, the master tactician ensures the verdict is secured before the trial even begins.